Imagine a general who never lost a single battle. Not one. He defeated the two greatest empires of his time, Rome and Persia. But one decision made his prophet so angry that he raised his hands to the sky twice and said, "O Allah, I disown what he has done." This is the story of Khalid ibn al-Walid. Khalid ibn al-Walid was born into the elite Quraysh tribe of Mecca around 592 CE. He was a natural-born warrior, brilliant tactician, and fearless leader. But here's the twist. He started as Islam's greatest enemy. At the Battle of Uhud in 625, Khalid's cavalry maneuver almost completely destroyed the Muslim army. He was the man every Muslim feared. But in 629 CE, something extraordinary happened. Khalid converted to Islam. The man who had been the Muslims' worst nightmare became their champion. Prophet Muhammad gave him a title that would echo through history. Saif Allah al-Maslul, the drawn sword of Allah. And Khalid lived up to that name. He never lost another battle. Not against the Byzantines, not against the Persians, not against anyone. But just 1 year after his conversion, in 630 CE, Khalid made a decision that would haunt him. He was sent to invite a tribe called Banu Jadima to Islam. When his army arrived, the tribe members said Sabana, meaning, "We have changed our religion." But they didn't say Aslamna, "We have accepted Islam." Khalid became suspicious. Were they truly converting or just trying to save themselves? Here's where it gets complicated. There was old tribal bad blood between Khalid's family and Banu Jadima from before Islam. Khalid suspected they weren't sincere. He made the call. He ordered some of them killed. To him, it seemed like a military decision. But he was wrong. Dead wrong. These people had genuinely accepted Islam. They just didn't know the right Arabic words to use. When news reached Prophet Muhammad in Medina, his reaction was immediate and severe. He raised his hands toward the sky, and he did this twice for emphasis, and declared, "O Allah, I dissociate myself from what Khalid has done." Then he sent Ali ibn Abi Talib, one of his closest companions, with gold and compensation to Banu Jadima. Ali was instructed to pay blood money for every person killed, compensate for every piece of property destroyed, and then give them extra, just to make absolutely sure they knew this was not what Islam stood for. You might be wondering, why did the Prophet react so strongly? Khalid was still new to Islam. It was a military decision in wartime. Why the public rebuke? Because this violated one of Islam's most fundamental principles. The Prophet taught that once someone declares, "La ilaha illallah," there is no God but Allah, their blood and property become sacred. You cannot kill them, you cannot harm them, and you absolutely cannot peer into their heart to judge whether they're really sincere. That's between them and Allah alone. This practice of declaring another Muslim a disbeliever has a name in Islamic theology, Takfir. And Prophet Muhammad warned against it repeatedly. He said, if a man says to his brother, "O kafir," "O disbeliever," then surely one of them is such. The meaning? If you falsely accuse a Muslim of being a disbeliever, that sin returns to you. It's one of the gravest sins in Islam because it tears apart the Muslim community and puts you in the position of judging what only Allah can judge. La ilaha illallah. Khalid wasn't the only one who needed this lesson. There was Usama ibn Zayd, who killed an enemy soldier right after the man declared the Shahada. Usama thought he was faking it. The Prophet was so upset, he kept repeating, "Did you kill him after he said La ilaha illallah? Did you split open his heart to see what was inside?" Usama later said he wished he had never been Muslim before that day, meaning he wished he hadn't committed that sin. Then there was the man who insulted the Prophet to his face, accusing him of being unjust. The companions asked permission to kill him. The Prophet refused. Why? Because judging faith isn't our job. Here's a beautiful story that shows the Prophet's sensitivity. Abu Huraira was a young Muslim whose mother was still a polytheist. He kept trying to invite her to Islam, but she refused. One day, she even mocked the Prophet to Abu Huraira's face, something that broke his heart. He went to the Prophet crying and asked him to make dua for his mother. The Prophet prayed, "O Allah, guide the mother of Abu Huraira." Abu Huraira rushed home, and when he got to the door, he heard water splashing. His mother was taking a bath. She came out and declared the Shahada. She had become Muslim. This story shows the Prophet's compassion, but here's the key point. Despite Abu Huraira's mother being a mushrik, the Prophet never allowed anyone to disrespect her or hurt Abu Huraira's feelings. In fact, the Prophet taught something remarkable. He said, "Among the greatest sins is that a man curses his own parents." The companions were shocked. "O Messenger of Allah, how could anyone curse their own parents?" The Prophet explained, "When a man insults another man's father, and that man insults his father in return. When he insults another man's mother, and that man insults his mother in return." Do you see the wisdom? Even if someone's parent is a disbeliever, you don't insult them, because it will hurt that person and cause them to retaliate by insulting your parents. The Prophet was teaching emotional intelligence alongside theology. Respect people's feelings, even about their non-Muslim family members. There's a clear pattern here. Even Abdullah ibn Ubay, who was known as a hypocrite, the Prophet knew this man was undermining Islam from within. Even he was protected. When he said, "If we return to Medina, the more honorable will expel the meaner," referring to himself and the Prophet, both his own son and Umar asked permission to kill him. The Prophet refused both times. His reasoning, so that people will not say Muhammad kills his companions. He was protecting the principle even when he knew the person was genuinely problematic. And when this hypocrite died, the Prophet even prayed his funeral prayer until revelation told him to stop. Fast forward to after the Prophet's death. A group called the Khawarij emerged, extremists who started making takfir on other Muslims, declaring them disbelievers over minor disagreements. They fought against Ali, the fourth caliph. After defeating them at the Battle of Nahrawan, Ali's companions asked him, "Are they disbelievers?" Ali's response is legendary. They fled from disbelief, meaning no, they're not disbelievers. Are they hypocrites? No, hypocrites barely remember Allah, but these people remember Allah much. His final verdict? They are our brothers who have transgressed against us. Even extremists who fought him with swords, still brothers. So, back to Khalid. Did he learn from the Prophet's devastating rebuke? The evidence says yes. After the Banu Jadima incident, there's no record of him repeating that specific offense. Throughout the Ridda Wars, the wars against those who left Islam after the Prophet's death, and his subsequent conquests of Iraq and Syria, Khalid never again hastily killed someone who declared the Shahada. The lesson had been burned into him. Though there was one more controversy, the execution of Malik ibn Nuwayra, which is still hotly debated by historians. But even critics acknowledge that this was different. It involved rebellion and refusing to pay zakat in a chaotic period. When Umar became caliph, he made a controversial decision. He dismissed Khalid from command. But not for incompetence. Khalid was still winning every battle, not for repeating his mistakes. Soldiers chant, "Khalid, Khalid." Umar's reasoning was profound. He was worried that people were starting to attribute victories to Khalid rather than to Allah. Soldiers would say Khalid won the battle instead of Allah granted us victory. So Umar removed him to make a point. Victory comes from Allah, not from any general, no matter how brilliant. And Khalid's response? He reportedly said, "I fought for Allah, not for Umar." He accepted the dismissal with humility. This brings us to a crucial correction. Some say, without Khalid, Islam might not have survived. That's wrong, dead wrong, and it's the exact mistake Umar was preventing. Allah promised in the Quran, "Indeed, it is we who sent down the Quran, and indeed, we will be its guardian." Islam's survival was never dependent on Khalid or any human being except the Prophet Muhammad himself. Khalid was a means Allah chose to use, an instrument, a tool. If Khalid hadn't existed, Allah would have granted victory through someone else or through other means. This is fundamental Islamic theology. You cannot hide the truth. Islam makes it regardless. So why is Khalid still celebrated as a folk hero throughout the Arab and Muslim world? Because folk heroes don't have to be perfect. Think about it. Every culture has flawed heroes. What makes someone a folk hero is extraordinary achievement during critical moments, complete dedication to their cause, and the ability to learn from mistakes. Khalid earned his status through unmatched military genius when the Muslim community desperately needed it, through personal sacrifice. He gave up his privileged position in Mecca and died relatively poor despite his conquests, and through accepting correction with grace. His tomb in Homs, Syria remains a pilgrimage site. Boys throughout the Muslim world are named after him. Military academies still study his tactics. What's remarkable about Islamic historical sources is that they preserve these mistakes. They don't whitewash them. The Banu Jathima incident is right there in Sahih Bukhari, the most authentic hadith collection. This tells us something important about how early Muslims viewed their heroes. They weren't looking for perfect human beings. They acknowledged that even the companions of the Prophet, who have a special status in Islam, made errors in judgment. They were human. The tradition values learning from both achievements and mistakes. You can celebrate Khalid's genuine military contributions while acknowledging his serious errors. Both are true. Both are important. So what's the lesson for today? In our era of social media, cancel culture, and instant judgments, this 1,400-year-old teaching feels more relevant than ever. Don't hastily judge whether someone is a real Muslim, a real believer, a real anything. You cannot see into someone's heart. You don't know their struggles, their journey, their relationship with God. If someone declares the Shahada, prays, and shows basic signs of Islam, that's enough. Their inner state is between them and Allah. Making takfir, declaring someone outside the faith, is not your job. It's not anyone's job except in the clearest, most undeniable cases, and even then it requires proper Islamic legal process, not individual judgment. The Prophet built multiple safeguards into this teaching. He said, "Whoever prays like us, faces our Qibla, and eats our slaughtered animals is a Muslim." Simple external criteria. He also taught, cursing a Muslim is wickedness, and fighting a Muslim is kufur. But scholars explain this doesn't mean you literally become a disbeliever by fighting another Muslim. It means it's such a grave sin that it resembles disbelief in its severity. The point? Even major sins don't expel someone from Islam. There's a story about a man from the children of Israel who killed 99 people, then asked a scholar if he could be forgiven. The scholar said no, so the man killed him too, making it 100. He asked another scholar who said yes, absolutely, and told him to go to a righteous land. The man died on the way, and angels of mercy took his soul. Khalid ibn al-Walid's story is a reminder that even legendary figures are human. Even the sword of Allah made mistakes that required correction. But what matters is, he learned, he grew, he accepted the rebuke and never repeated that specific error. And centuries later, we still learn from both his achievements and his mistakes. That's the sign of a mature historical tradition, one that doesn't need perfect heroes, just honest ones. If this story made you think differently about judging others, hit that like button. If you want to see the next video where I'll blow your mind with a linguistic connection between the word kufur and English, subscribe and hit the notification bell. And let me know in the comments, did Khalid truly redeem himself? Drop your thoughts below. Oh, and one more thing. Remember that word kufur, the covering, the concealing? Next video, I'm going to show you how it sounds almost identical to an English word with the exact same meaning, and mainstream linguistics might have completely missed the connection. You're not going to believe what I found. See you there.